Hello YouTube, W&J's Handy Dad here. Today we are looking at the air intake part of the Dodge Charger Hemi. You see I've already got it a little bit disassembled, so you just unscrew that. You can use a socket wrench or a screwdriver, get it real loose, and that will slide off of there, which then allows you to remove the plastic cover. Now remember, there is a hose here that you got to pull off as well. Once you do that, that'll just lift right out of the way. Now, I want to show you something here because this is something that's not supposed to be, but there's the oil from the washable rechargeable oil filter. So obviously it is sucking some of the oil off of there. Now there's a bolt here. It's a 10mm, 3/8 would probably work as well. You remove that, you can actually take this piece out, and I've already dumped, there was a bunch of leaves and stuff in there, but I'm going to go ahead and clean this while I've got this all off and 303 it as well. Now to remove this tube, I'm going to loosen that screw there. And you have your mass air electrical connector there to remove, and then this piece will come out. So the tab just squeezes in there and slides off of there. And when you remove it, that is just stuck on there, so it just basically pops off. And that exposes your throttle body, and also if you want to clean your mass air sensor, it's right there. You see I put a blue shop towel behind there. Got my mass airflow sensor cleaner, and you just kind of spritz it a couple times. It evaporates very quickly. And you see the throttle body opens at the bottom. So you're going to seafoam it. You want your straw pointed down there, not up here, so that it doesn't hit the throttle body. So I'm going to put it right there. Now if you saw my Crown Vic video, the K&N air filter cleaner that I bought wouldn't spray right out of the box, so I'm going to clean it with Dawn. It worked great on the Crown Vic. I'm sure it'll work great on here. There's basically where most of the dirt is, but there's also a lot of debris in the crevices. So concentrate a lot in there. And let that soak about 10 minutes. And we give it a good thorough rinsing and let it dry. Now you can certainly let your air filter air dry over time, but I like to use a blower and speed up the process. I think it's also a good idea to put a little 303 on the rubber gasket part. Just put some on a towel and wipe it on. You don't want to spray the 303 on the actual air filter portion. So I'll let the air filter dry in the sun, and once it's completely dry I'll re-oil it. Now you notice this is not a K&N. The K&N would have turned white when I washed it. This one must use some sort of pinkish red cotton in there. I'm only going to spray the side where the air flows through, and hopefully that'll keep it from sucking up the oil like you saw that it was doing. And these two pieces I'm going to soak in the 303, both inside and out. So the theory on the soak is, one, it's obviously a little bit cosmetic improvement. It'll kind of shine up the plastic, but at least in theory it will help prevent things like where this broken tab is. I don't have any first-hand knowledge of it. It's not like I've tested the plastic with 303 and without to see if it breaks, but I'm just going by what the label says, that it should improve the strength. And this piece I'm going to soak with the 303 only on the outside. I don't want to get any 303 on the mass air sensor. Now my throttle body's pretty clean, at least on the outside, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it just to show you that it can be done and can be cleaned. So there's 4 bolts. They are 5/16 socket that fits them. I think the best practice is to crack all 4 of them loose about a turn, then remove the lower 2, and then you'll find out pretty quickly when you're removing the top whether the throttle body would literally just fall off or whether it's stuck by the gasket. So that's why I do it that way. And then you also have the electrical connector here, and most of them have a lock tab. So unlock, squeeze, and pull. So unlock, squeeze, right there, but you gotta see how my lock tab keeps wanting to scooch down. You gotta keep that lock tab back while you squeeze there and pull. So it's kind of tricky when you're doing it on film. So you see there's not a gasket on the Charger, it's actually a rubberized O-ring. So I'm going to take that out, wipe it down, clean out in here as well. You see my throttle body's pretty clean already. So I'm just going to touch it up just a little bit with the throttle body cleaner. So to clean it, I'm just going to use Dawn. Dawn is a great degreaser that's safe. And then after I get all this oil and gunk off of it, I'm going to treat it with a little 303 to keep it, hopefully anyway, flexible and lasting a long time. You see it's very delicate, so I'm trying to be careful not to stretch it out or tear it up or anything. I'm going to let that soak for a while, and hopefully the last of the deposits will come off of there. So you just kind of spritz it down a little bit. And I'm taking a clean shop rag, just wiping it down. And you'll see carbon will come off of it. If yours is really dirty, you can use a toothbrush to kind of scrub, or to get in any areas that you're not able to reach with the rag. This is a much easier job off the car than it is on the car, obviously, but you can do most of this while it's on the car. So you see that's pretty clean now. I got in all the cracks and crevices and scrubbed it out, and even tried to do the edge as best I could. Now because this is plastic, I would not spray any throttle body cleaner in there. What I did is I just wiped mine down with a dry rag, and then obviously I'm going to seafoam it so the seafoam will get in there and clean, but this was actually pretty clean, as you can see. Put your throttle body back on. First we're going to put the rubber O-ring or gasket, whatever you want to call it, back in here. Once it's seated, then you can bring over your throttle body. Bring your throttle body over. Remember, it's oriented at a tilt. It's not straight up and down. There are some little tabs there to kind of help you orient it. I think it's a good idea to take your upper bolt and kind of hand thread it to help you. And then I think it's a good idea to go ahead and hand thread the other bolts. And what I mean by hand thread is literally don't use the socket wrench, just turn it. Once you've got it started, take and just tighten them down just till it's basically holding it flush against there. In other words, don't torque it by hand. So now that it's snug on there, then we're going to get the torque wrench. It's 105 inch-pounds of torque, and that's basically between 8.5 and 9 foot-pounds. So that's what we're going to go with, is about 8 3/4 foot-pounds. We're going to do it in a crisscross pattern, kind of like you would the old 4-lug wheels. And these connectors that are in potential wet zones, I think you need to hit them with a little bit of tune-up grease just to seal out the potential for moisture. Ready to put the snorkel back on. So it has the tab there that lines up in there. But most importantly, you want to make sure that this gets on there correctly. I've already put the dielectric tune-up grease on there, so reconnect the mass air sensor. And then we'll reinstall this box. And it basically just slides down in here. And you want to try to line it up as best you can. You see there's the hole in the bottom there. You want to line that up as best you can. When I pulled mine out before, it was actually like about like that. So it really should be sitting in there more like that for the best airflow. And then once you got it lined up, you just put that bolt back in. It's a 10mm bolt, and just tighten it down by hand. And then we want to oil the air filter now that it's clean and dry. I'm using the K&N air filter oil, and since the airflow goes through this side, we're going to oil this side. You just want a real thin but even coat on here. And obviously with this air filter already being red, it's a little tougher than if it was a white air filter to start with. So let that soak about 5 or 10 minutes. Check, make sure the color looks real uniform, and then we'll reinstall it. So we'll put the air filter back in. It's a pretty snug fit, so make sure that it's seated properly. Then you take the cover. Yours hopefully has all 3 tabs. Looks like at some point when the police had this, somebody tried to rip it this way and broke it. But I think the 2 tabs will still secure it well enough. And don't forget to reattach that hose there and tighten up the snorkel. So now the car is ready to do the seafoam. Basically I just gotta drive it around a little bit, warm it up, and then once it's warmed up, I'll put the seafoam in and follow directions, which basically idle it at about 1500 to 2000 RPMs and spray the whole can in, which takes approximately 5 minutes. After that you give it a what they call a hot soak, and then start it up, and that's when you see all the white smoke coming out the back. And then of course you do my favorite part, what they call the aggressive driving. Alright, the engine is warmed up to normal operating temperature. So I'm going to open this up here. This job easier, you got to remove both sides. said before, we're going to take our straw and we're going to get it down there in the bottom. Tighten that back on. Now you see why it's good not to cut your straw, because that's all the clearance we've got with it where it's at. So I'm going to rig this up to where it'll hold the RPMs at approximately 1500. Now that the can is empty, we'll let it hot soak for about 10 minutes. Go ahead and remove the straw. So we're done under the hood now. Let's just let it soak, and then that's when the fun begins.